You're listening to an Airwave Media Podcast.
Are you a forward thinker? Then you need an HR and finance platform that thinks like you do. Workday is the AI platform that helps propel your organization, your workforce, and your industry into the future. Workday, moving business forever forward.
Hola todos. This is Angelica Cordero from The Persistence. Katy and Nathan wanted me to let y'all know that they use colorful language and discuss mature topics on this show. So if that's not your thing, it's cool if you want to turn it off now. But if you're curious about the unsung heroines of history, those who defied the odds and made waves in politics, arts, and activism, then check out The Persistence. We celebrate the fierce women who've shaped our world in ways you've never learned in school. And now, on to Queens. Salud!
Hi, this is Katy.
And this is Nathan.
And you're listening to Queen's Podcast, the show about women in history. Hey, Nathan.
Hey, Katy. Hey, listeners. How's it been going, Katy?
Oh, it's been going pretty good. Episode number 2 of 2026. How are you, Nathan?
Good. Been doing a nice dry January to give my liver a break.
But that doesn't mean we can't still have delicious mocktails like what you whipped up for us today.
And this could easily be made into a cocktail like that.
Yes, but before we get into the cocktail, let's get into the lady, Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz, who I had never heard of before.
Me neither. But in the research of this, I fell in love.
I knew you were gonna. First of all, every dry January, my favorite mocktail, non-alcoholic cocktail is this Ritual Zero Proof tequila, which they are not paying us. I don't know why they don't sponsor us. They should at this point, because every January I'm like, let's do something with tequila. So let's do someone from Mexico. Started doing a little Google, came across Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz, and I was like, oh, she's cool. But before I even formed the sentence, she's cool, I was like, Nathan is gonna love her.
And it's true.
Nathan, why is she famous?
Why is she famous? Well, she was a 17th century writer, composer, poet who fought for the intellectual rights of women, and we love her.
We love her. So before we get into it, before we even discuss the cocktail, first we got some Patreon shout-outs.
Patreon.
3 new Patreon shout-outs today. Shout out to Dominique Kaylin, and she styled herself a Queen K. Okay, Queen K.
I love when a woman knows she's bougie.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you to those 3 new Patreon supporters. And you know what? Thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone that listens to our little old us. Little old us. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
You're killing me over here.
But before we go any further, Nathan, tell us about this cocktail. In our case today, this mocktail, but you know what? I might revisit it in February and drop some mezcal in it, actually.
Yeah. So we made a virgin Paloma, and it is tasty and delicious. So what I did was I did 2 parts of grapefruit juice, 1 part lime juice, 2 parts non-alcoholic tequila. And FYI, if you wanted to make it alcoholic, I would not recommend doing 2 parts tequila to 2 parts grapefruit juice. It might be a little strong. But with that, I did pour in some soda, and you can get grapefruit club soda flavored to kind of give that an extra grapefruit. I put in a little agave nectar too to give it a little bit of sweetness. And then I did a splash of peach juice, which also added just a lovely fruity floral flavor to it. And on the glass, I did a rim of tahini with a lime and an orange. So drink up, bitches.
I saw something online that was like, the reason you put a salt circle around a margarita, or in this case, a Paloma, is because it's like keeping the bad spirits out. That's why there's a salt circle, or in our case, a tahini circle around the rim, keeping the bad. Only good vibes in this drink and in this story. So now that we know who we're talking about, we know who we're drinking, we said our thank yous, let's talk about Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz. Let's bring her into this world. Nathan, kick it off.
Well, Juana was born in either 1648 or 1651. Unclear. However, it seems like the day she was born is agreed upon. November 12th, which makes her a Scorpio. And have to say, this tracks. We don't have her full chart, but she is definitely Scorpio coded in what we know about her. Intense, devoted to her passions, and oh boy, ain't that the truth.
Yep. Now, at her birth, her name was not Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz. Sor is she goes on to be a nun. So that's kind of like how we call nuns, like sister. That's it. Yeah. We're not sure if she would have been Juana or Ines, with her family. But it doesn't really matter. We're just going to call her Juana. It's just going to make the story go easier. And we always kind of do that here at Queen's Podcast. It's easier than switching her name midway through the story. We're going to call her Juana, just to avoid any confusion.
So let's talk about where she was born, and then we'll get into her family. At the time of her birth, she was born in a region known as San Miguel Nepantla, New Spain, which is today in modern-day Mexico. And just to put it in context, it's about a 2-hour car drive to Mexico City from there.
Fun fact. Today, they renamed the town that the town that she was born in, and now it's called Pantla de Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
A town named after her. Get it?
Right.
Juana's mom, Isabel Ramirez de Santeria, was from a wealthy Spanish family that lived in Mexico. The term to describe her mother is criolla.
It's just Criolla. Like the word Creole.
Oh.
But the word that they use in Louisiana now, in New Orleans, Creole, I think they're from the same root word.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. But kind of have different meanings now. Because, this just meant someone who was born in, quote unquote, the New World, but was of complete Spanish heritage, which I found really interesting. Had to stop myself from that rabbit hole because I just didn't have time, but yeah.
Mama and her family seem to be really well connected. Love this for them.
Juana's dad, we know less about. We do know her parents were never married. So Juana was one of probably 3 children that Mama Isabella had out of wedlock, likely by all 3 of them by different men. Which, do you know what? Do you remember that Ace of Base song that was all that she wants is another baby. She's gone tomorrow. That's what Mama made me think of. All that she wants is another baby.
Yeah.
Katy coming in hot with the super relevant references here. So, Ace of Base. Our younger listeners are like, what? But so Mama was unmarried. She had children, at least 3, may have been by different fathers. But if this caused any kind of scandal, we don't really know about it. I couldn't find anything that this really caused any kind of scandal for the family or really made Juana be ostracized in their town or anything, which I found interesting because they are like Catholic, it's a very Spanish leaning society. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Their family seemed to be still pretty respected in their society. So,
That being said, we do know that her father was a Spanish guy named Pedro de Azueja. We just don't know anything about him besides that he didn't play a role in Juana's life.
yeah.
Did he die soon after Juana's birth? Did he go back to Spain?
Yeah. But you know what? It doesn't matter. She may not have had a father in her life, but she had a huge family regardless. Juana and her siblings and cousins were raised together like as a pretty tight-knit family on one of her grandfather's haciendas. And it appears that on the day-to-day, the women ran the haciendas, like they ran the show. So from a young age, she would have seen Mama more or less like being a boss.
Yeah, now from a super young age, it was obvious that Juana was different from the rest of the kids in the family. To call Juana a bookish child, that would be a gross understatement because books were life to this child.
Yes. Her grandfather had a huge library, and as soon as Juana could walk, she was walking her little ass into that library and staying there all day.
I can just see her in diapers, waddling.
Yep. Waddling in and just being like, books are my friends. Yes. Today, we would probably call her a prodigy, like a child prodigy. All she wanted to do was read, and honestly, her family let her. Like, I wonder if she was just so obnoxious that they were like, oh my God, when she's in there, at least she's like leaving us the fuck alone. Just
go read a book.
Just go read a fucking book. Yeah. The story goes that by age 3, she could read in both Spanish and Latin.
Slight caveat here.
Little asterisks.
Yeah. A lot of those stories are from Juana's own retelling of her childhood. So, unreliable narrator. She was reliable, but that part, maybe not. So, while we know that, yes, she could definitely read and write in multiple languages later in life, was she self-taught in Latin by the age of 3, like she claims? Ooh, who knows?
It's like if I was just like, hey, did you know by the age of 3 I could moonwalk? Like, you have no way of proving me wrong. Like,
yeah.
Except for that I can't moonwalk now, but maybe I could when I was 3. You don't fucking know.
But you know what? She says she was, so let's just roll with it. Hell yeah, Juana.
Hell yeah, Juana. We do know that by the time she was 10 or so, it was well documented that, okay, this little girl is naturally gifted.
Mm-hmm.
She was writing poetry. She's doing like advanced math. She's teaching the other kids in the village complicated philosophy and languages. And because you didn't send girls to school and her family hadn't sent her to school, it's all largely self-taught.
Wow.
Yeah.
And pretty cool side note, even though she was fully of Spanish blood and functioning in a society of the Spanish mainly colonizers, she did teach herself indigenous languages and write poetry in those languages too. So
that is pretty cool.
Hats off.
Yeah. So speaking of which, Juana had begged to be sent to school. Begged to go to school. But since only boys went to school, she was like, fine, fucking cut my hair off. Dress me up as a boy. Call me Juan. Put me in pants. I don't fucking care. What is the issue?
And because of that, some people will point to her as being asexual, maybe non-binary, but speaking to her sexuality, we hesitate to do that.
Right.
Juana in her life never made any claims about being straight, gay, bi, asexual, nada. And I don't think wanting to dress up like a boy to go to school is any indication of that at all.
Right. Now, like we said, her family was pretty well connected, and Juana is not only exceptional, she's also grown up to be she's a bit of a hottie. She's a
Ooh.
pretty good looking young lady. So when she was like 16, her family is like, all right, girl, we need to find you a place in the world. So we are sending you to Mexico City, and you're going to get a job as a lady in waiting to someone important, and hopefully you can bag yourself a rich husband.
As they always did.
Yep.
Juana would have been fucking jazzed at the idea of going to Mexico
Right?
City, right? Mexico City was a huge hub for culture, different people coming and going, but also there were several major universities there. So she's like, okay, there's gotta be some way I can sneaky snake into those libraries and get my little paws on those sweet, sweet university books.
I'm gonna sneak a snake and get some books, you know? We're all thinking about like, ooh, university town, let's party. And she's like, oh, I'm gonna read. Yeah. But we can't just send her to Mexico City for nothing. She has to have a job. Enter the viceroy, Lenore del Carreto.
A vicereine is a title which in this case is the wife of the viceroy. Leonor was the wife of Viceroy Marquis de Mancera, the viceroy of New Spain.
Sounds important.
The viceroy of New Spain, to put it in scholarly terms, was a big fucking deal.
Oh, so scholarly, Nathan.
I read books.
Oh, you and Juana both. Okay.
The viceroy was not the king of New Spain, but he was kind of like the CEO of New Spain. And ran shit for the king of Spain in his place.
So Juana hadn't just landed her job at the court of some random rich guy and his wife in New Spain, aka Mexico. She landed herself a job basically at the royal court, and she's serving the de facto queen, basically.
Right? Okay.
And lucky for Juana, Lenore thinks Juana is just the coolest fucking chick. Because, I mean, Lenore could have been like some old stuffy, old school, girls don't read kind of. So we're in the 17th century. It's very likely that the viceroy could have been like, bitches be seen and not heard, you know. But luckily, Lenore is just like, no, this is fucking cool. So that's amazing. She loves that she's smart. So if Juana was like, well, I heard about this book that I'd love to get my hands on, but it's at a library that only men have access to, Lenore would be like, say no more. It'll be in your room tomorrow. Don't worry. I got you.
Ooh. Also, while there, it seems like Lenore had Juana tutor her daughters, which having female teachers wasn't really a done thing, which we'll get into later. So this is really cool. From all accounts, it seems like Juana and Lenore were super tight and had a great relationship. And for a long time, Juana had a really awesome gig there working for the viceroy, where she could just read, write poetry, and teach people. Get it, girl. We love it.
Love to see it. So this story that we're about to talk about is such a weird and interesting mix of funny and fucked up. So Lenore's husband, the viceroy, he's just hearing from everybody. Like, dude, you've got this prodigy living at your court, the smartest person to ever live, and it's a 17-year-old girl. So he decides he's going to put that to the test. The viceroy invites this large group of men, like about 40 different men, theologians, philosophers, mathematicians, poets, scholars that are like top of their field. Just if you are the highest in your field, come to my court. I'm going to have all of y'all quiz this teenage girl.
Ooh, so like a panel quizzy game.
Yes.
But
Yes.
in this, she's the only one getting quizzed, which literally sounds like a stress dream that I had last week.
Right? It's just her like sitting in the middle of the room and these men just barking questions at her and like follow-up questions and just like, yeah, it's exactly, Nathan. It sounds like a stress dream, but
Yeah, not fun.
but she's just like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Like she's just calmly sitting there for like hours correctly answering all of their questions. And again, it's not like it's, okay, now here's the math section, and now here's the philosophy section, and now here's the languages section, and now they're just like chaos shouting out questions at her for hours. And she's just like, yep, here's the right answer. Next. Yep, blah, 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 blah. Next. Nailing the answer with absolute accuracy for hours. And they just leave being like, well, yup, she's smart.
And that's where I think we're going to take our first little break to go top off our drinks.
I feel like a dumbass. All right, we'll be right back, guys. Now that the holidays are over, I feel like I've got full-blown spending hangover. Nathan, the drinks, the food, the gifts, it all adds up fast.
Yeah, January is when your bank account looks at you and is like, we need to talk.
Which is why I love Mint Mobile. It's helping us cut back on those sneaky monthly expenses, wireless bills. Mint Mobile is still running their end-of-year sale, but only until the end of the month. 50% off unlimited premium wireless. You get 50% off 3, 6, or 12 months of unlimited, and all plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text on the nation's largest 5G network.
Plus, you use your own phone, keep your phone number, and bring all your contacts. So, no drama. And we love no drama.
Yes, I actually use Mint Mobile, and the quality has been just as good as my old provider. Seriously, but for so much less money. Like, why was I paying that much more before?
Right? If you can save money and not sacrifice service, that's a no-brainer.
So this January, quit overspending on wireless with 50% off unlimited premium wireless plans starting at just $15 a month. Go to mintmobile.com/queens. That's mintmobile.com/queens.
Your wallet will thank you. It's a limited time offer. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 a month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. More than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com. And we're back.
We're back.
After all of this, Juana is more or less a celebrity at court.
Oh, hi,
And
girl.
she is a hot commodity as a bride, but getting married has zero appeal to our girl.
Well, no, why would it? I mean, we've talked about on this show so many times in the past that, like, as a married woman, you completely lose any autonomy. There's a possibility that she could marry somebody that's like, I love that you're smart. I love that you read. Yeah, let me buy you some more books. Make it rain with these pages, girl. But there's also a possibility that he could be like, fuck it, I'm taking away all your books and I'm locking you up in this room and you're just going to be a baby machine, you know? And why in the world would she chance that, you know?
Nah, I wouldn't. And Juana at this point is like, you know what? I'd rather be a nun.
Yeah.
This really isn't particularly surprising because nuns had a very particular freedom that married women and unmarried women didn't have. Nuns and rich widows both have this level of autonomy that is kind of specific to them where they kind of get to do what they want compared to all the other women in Christian societies.
Yeah. That being said, this specific flavor of nun that Juana became at first was a choice, an extreme choice. They were called the Scoused Carmelite nuns, and they were intense. Too intense for Juana. She realized pretty quickly. Like, they were only allowed to speak a couple of words a day. They practiced severe fasting, severe physical penance, and they just had little to no connection to the outside world.
Oof.
Ooh.
Just given the nature of this order of nuns, we don't have a lot of information about Juana's time with them, but we think her reason for joining them is she was probably like, they seem really dedicated. I want to show that I'm serious about this.
Yeah.
But this was never going to be a good fit
No.
for her. Juana likes to talk about her ideas, and
Yeah.
she does like the nicer things in life. She's been living at the royal court and dining with ambassadors and great thinkers for the last 3 years. Drinking good wine and wearing nice clothes.
Yeah. So after about 3 months, she was like, yeah, this was a mistake.
Love this for y'all. Love that y'all love this, but I'm gonna skedaddle.
No need for an exit interview. No,
I can see myself out. Bye.
Bye. I love that she wasn't so hard-headed that she tried to just stick with it. Because, like, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like I know a lot of Scorpios that would have been like, I said I'm doing this, so I'm doing it. But she was like, whoa, you know what? No thanks.
But she's young. She's around 21 years old and had the good sense to know that there was other convents for her that would be a much better match, and equally stoked to have her. And in 1669, she joined the Order of the Hieronymite nuns, where they had way, way, way more relaxed rules.
Right.
And she could keep her books, keep reading and learning, and live a really comfortable life. And no man could threaten to marry her and take any of that away. So, yay.
And for the next few years, Juana's small room at the convent kind of became like a salon for intellectuals in like the Mexico City area. Here is where she like really started her writing career. She wrote poetries and plays. She translated old text. She even wrote critiques on old religious scholars, which might get her in trouble later. Put a pin in that.
Ooh, there's a lot we could say about Sor Juana's poetry and plays and sonnets because they were very famous in her lifetime. A big thing that set her apart, though, is that she wasn't just writing religious poetry and prose, which is what was expected as a nun. She was writing about politics and love and science. So people were like, what the fuck does a nun know about these things? Like, have they forgotten this isn't just some nun? This is the child prodigy that stumped a room full of the most educated men in all of the Americas.
It was during this time that she met a very important person who'd be like one of the most important people in the rest of her life. Someone who has caused a lot of speculation and a huge part of her legacy. You see, the previous viceroy and the vicereine that we mentioned earlier, they'd gone back to Spain and they had been replaced. And the new vicereine was a woman named Maria Louisa Manrique de Lara e Gonzaga. And I'm just going to call her Maria Louisa because lo siento, y'all. Maria Louisa and Juana were very close. Insert raised eyebrows.
Ooh, speculation station was not just between Katy and Nathan. It was a lot of other people speculating over the years about this relationship of Juana and Maria Luisa. More than their fair share of lesbian fanfic has been written about these two, FYI.
Now, was their relationship sexual? Like we said up top about, like, it's kind of pointless to speculate because we're never going to fucking know. But their relationship was definitely very, very close and intellectual. The letters that they wrote to each other were clearly intimate, but this wouldn't be the first time that we've mentioned in history that's just how women wrote to each other sometimes.
Very flowery, very over the top.
Yes, like very flowery. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if like in 500 years from now, if like a historian is going to look at texts that I send to my cousin and be like, were these cousins doing it? Just because I will be like, sometimes I'll have a little too many glasses of wine and I'll be like, I couldn't get through this life without you. And she'll be like, oh my God, you are the only person that I can talk to. And maybe historians are going to be like, these people were clearly in love with each other, you know, but that's just how we talk to each other after a couple glasses of wine.
True.
And, you know, but that's, do you know what I'm trying to say, or do I sound stupid?
Or do you sound really weird?
But do you know, like, that was just how women kind of wrote to each other back then. And with someone like Juana, who's already prone to very dramatic writing. So who fucking knows? We could speculate. I would read that. I would read that lesbian fanfic.
Me too. I would be here for days.
Yeah.
We simply cannot write about Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz without mentioning Maria Louisa, because Maria Louisa is imperative to her legacy. The viceroy was so impressed with Juana's writing that she was the one sending them back to Spain and being like, hey, there's this nun here in Mexico. Oh, she's amazing. She needs to be known around the world, not just here in New Spain.
Right. And while Juana's work stands on its own 2 feet, like just based on merits alone, it's largely due to Maria Luisa's enthusiasm and dedication to her is why it's like known more widely outside and in Europe, and like, yeah, got spread around due to her like financial backing and her enthusiasm for it.
Now, we could spend a lot longer on this eyebrow raising these two did for generations to come by their close relationship, but the TLDR is that we'll never know. That being said, let's talk about what we know they really shared a passion for, and that's Juana's writing.
Now, we're not going to discuss all her works because we'd be here all day. Look into them. If you're interested in all of her works, do look into them. But what we do want to discuss is one poem called You Foolish Men. Now, before anyone jumps in here calling us or Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz out for being man-haters, let's give some cultural context. The poem does not call out men for being any less smart, any less clever, or just biologically lesser than women. It calls them out for saying that about women, and does what Juana's really good at, is holding up a mirror about hypocrisy in society.
Yes, because in the 17th century and for all of history, it was just accepted that bitches be crazy and hysterical and they're weak. That uterus is just floating around. Sor Juana points
Sorry,
out
that was the sound of the uterus, I guess.
And Sor Juana points out something extremely inconvenient. The same men making those claims constantly excuse their own behavior by saying, oh, I just couldn't help myself.
Right. So she's saying if a woman is a courtesan, you shame her for making a living off of sin. But if a woman is chaste, you call her a prude and joke to your friends about it. Like, oh, maybe I should just assault her. So how do we fucking win with you guys?
Right? The argument of this poem is, if your self-control disappears the moment a woman exists, how exactly is the woman the weak one here?
Right.
I love this line. Who sins more? She who sins for pay, or he who pays to sin?
Oh. I love that line. I mean, the system's fucked either way, but like, yeah, I mean, because it's like I was just saying, she's so good at holding up a mirror to society and being like, look at it. look at the hypocrisy. And again, like I feel like people are so quick to be like, oh, she was just a man hater. And it's like, no, the title, You Foolish Men, I guess like the knee-jerk reaction is to be like, oh, you hate men. But it's like, no, she's just calling out the hypocrisy.
Yeah.
If y'all are interested, the poem is translated into English on the internet everywhere. Like you don't have to look far. So it's really good.
Now, how was this received? Fairly well, in fact. Since this was a secular piece that had nothing to do with the church, it didn't get her into any hot water. It pissed a couple people off, but a lot of her works did, because she was a nun writing about secular things.
Right now, kind of like when an athlete talks about political things and they're like, shut up and dribble. You know, like it pisses people off, but they're not going to stop watching sports is kind of a good comparison that I can think of. Is kind of, or like when they told the Dixie Chicks to shut up and sing. Or I guess not the Dixie Chicks anymore. It's just the chicks.
But there were definitely people taking note of her. That being said, at the time she was still living under the patronage of the viceroy and his wife and her bestie, maybe girlfriend, Maria Louisa, which meant socially, while Mexico or New Spain, she was largely socially protected until 1688. Yeah, when they got sent back to Old Spain. And that's when our girl with her big sassy mouth ran into a little bit of trouble.
Okay, so I think we need to take one more break and then we can come back and what kind of trouble Sor Juana got herself into.
Well, we got trouble, my friends. Trouble right here in River City. Sorry.
Right here in Mexico City. Yeah. And we are back. But unfortunately, we need to talk about what led to Juana's downfall starting in 1690, 2 years after the viceroy and Maria Luisa left Mexico City. So, because even though she was brilliant and we now can recognize that, eventually the church decided she needed to shut the fuck up. And we need to talk about why.
At some point in 1690, Juana was reading up on the works of this priest from 40 years ago, and something about that guy's work rubs her the wrong way. We're not really sure what, and it doesn't really matter.
Irrelevant.
She writes to her friend Manuel Fernandez de Santa Cruz and is like, I don't like this guy's work. What do you think? And we can't stress this enough. This letter that she was writing to her friend was never meant to be public.
No. And this Manuel guy, I think he was like, he was a bishop. He was like high ranking. But again, she was just writing a letter to a friend. She wasn't writing like a think piece that was meaning to like be published. Yeah, like you said. So, fucking Manuel is like, oh. First of all, Manuel agreed with what she was saying, but he didn't want the heat. He didn't want to publish what she was saying. He wanted her words out there, but he didn't want to publish them. So he takes the letter and he publishes it under a fake name, though. He pretends that he's another nun, and he publishes it and writes this foreword. So publishes it under the name of a different nun, and he's like, Sor Juana wrote me this letter, and shouldn't us ladies just stay the fuck out of it? Shouldn't us ladies
Oh my gosh.
just work on charity and blah, 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 blah? What do y'all think? And then publishes the letter. He didn't want the smoke on him, but he also wanted to tell her that ladies needed to shut the fuck up at the same time.
Oh, I hate this guy. But what's fucked up, this Manuel guy is publishing Juana's criticism because he agrees with them, but doesn't want to say it himself. Little pissy. Boo. So he wants to criticize the church, but also wants to shit on Juana at the same time. This fucking guy.
This fucking guy. And this is the first time the church is really calling her out. And it opened up a whole new world of criticism that she had never really had to face before. Does she go crazy on the defense? No. She sits down. She gathers her thoughts. She starts writing her response. She takes her time with it. She takes a couple months. She carefully chooses her words. And what she writes is often considered the first feminist manifesto of the Americas.
For context, when her quote-unquote friend Manuel published his response as a nun, he gave himself the name Sor Filotea de la Cruz. So the title of this response is Response of Sor Filotea, or In Response to.
Yeah, in response to Sister Filotea or whatever. So the essay is broken up into 5 or 6 sections. And in the first section in her essay, she's like, look, let's talk about your critique of me. So, first of all, God made me like this. And you can ask anyone. I was born smart. I taught myself to read Latin when I was 3. If women are supposed to just shut up and cook and raise kids and aren't made for the book learning, then why did he make me like this? Why did God make me like this if women aren't supposed to be smart? That feels like a design flaw. Are you saying God made a design flaw, Sister Filotea?
Oh, there's that mirror again. So she pushes it further. If you are saying a woman shouldn't use talents that God gave her, then that's on you and your own fear and pride. And wouldn't you call that a sin against God? Just like we saw in her Foolish Men poem, she's very, very, very good at logically, calmly shining a light on this hypocrisy.
Absolutely. And then in the next section, she asks where this idea even came from, that education somehow goes against God. Can't we find God in music and philosophy and science? If God created the universe, why wouldn't he want us to learn more about it? Ignorance does not equal holiness. Where did you get that idea? Yeah.
Then in section 3, she's like, well, actually, women have always been scholars.
Right?
She brings up women from the Bible, like St. Catherine of Alexandria and St. Paula. She mentions Hypatia of Alexandria. And
our girl, remember when we covered her?
Yes, I do. And she's basically like, all of these women were awesome, smart, and we're just supposed to forget they existed?
And all of this, dear listener, brings us to section 4, which is what really got her in trouble. So, of course, it's the most interesting part. So what you really need to know before we discuss it is that generally it was not socially accepted for women to be teachers, but girls could get an education. It was not frowned upon for girls to be smart and well-educated. However, women couldn't teach. And a lot of parents didn't want to leave their daughters alone with male tutors all day.
Oh, I mean, historically speaking, let's look at Catherine Howard and what her music teacher did to her.
It's important to note that she doesn't really come right out and say the men are sexually assaulting your daughters. And that's why the daughters aren't getting educated. She doesn't come right out and say it, but everybody knows what she's saying. It would have been too much, but they're not dumb. They know what she's saying, They know what she's trying to say.
And then she's like, let me get this straight. You've made a system where women cannot teach, but men cannot be trusted with girls, and so girls go on to be uneducated. Then you blame girls and women for their lack of contributions to society, for being hysterical and ignorant and all the things. Ugh.
And also, why? Why can't women be teachers? This is so dumb. And this is where she has one of her most famous lines from this manifesto. One can perfectly well philosophize while cooking supper. Meaning, okay, women need to be in the kitchen cooking dinner for their family. Why can't it be both? Why can't a woman be well educated and also passing down that education while she's cooking for her family? Like, why can't I be telling my daughters about philosophy while I'm cooking? Like, there's no response to it that makes any sense.
Yep. So again, this is like, fine, I'll play by your rules, but once again, let me show you why these rules don't make any sense.
Absolutely. The rest of the manifesto is like, women are given the same brains as men are given, and using that brain is an affront to God, just like a man using his brain isn't an affront to God. God gave us these brains, and actually us being able to use them would only make us in better service to the church.
That was the text, that using our brains will only make women better service to the church. But I fear what the men heard is that it would make us worse servants to the men. Oh, i.e., more of us would quit getting married, having babies, and more of us would just want to read and join convents.
Right. Juana became a really controversial figure after this, and some were even calling for her to be excommunicated, and our girl would have been screwed if that happened.
Yeah, the viceroy had moved back to Spain, and it was really unlikely that they would have put out their necks and brought her across the sea. Like, no way.
Yeah. And her family in Mexico, I mean, they were pretty well connected, but like, this had gone way above their pay grade, you know? Like, if she had been kicked out of the convent, like, what? She would have been out on the streets, you know?
Around 1693, after receiving pressure from the Archbishop of Mexico to be basically kicked out of her convent, she sold all of her books, her musical instruments, and even her telescopes. Not the telescopes.
Not the telescope.
Around this time, she wrote an official penance. But we think there's something really important to note about her penance.
Because everything Juana had ever written had been with a flair, you know? Like, and this penance is so bureaucratic. Like, it is... You know what it kept making me think of? Do you know in that episode of The Office where Dwight gets put in charge of throwing the birthday party, and he just makes a banner that is like, "It is your birthday."
Yeah. This
Whereas
is
most
my
of her,
penance.
yes. Whereas like if she would have actually meant it, it would have been like, "Oh, and I have sinned and done, and with the stars and blah, blah, blah." But instead of, "This is my penance."
One of the penances that she agreed to sign, she calls herself, quote unquote, "I, the worst of all women," which is just so sarcastic. I love it.
That's how I read it too. Just sounds really like, yeah, just sarcastic.
Like, oh, good God. Okay, I roll. I, the worst of women. Sure. Whatever.
Okay, can we pull up the speculation station real quick?
Yeah, let's do it. Choo-choo.
No facts, just vibes.
I think Juana thought this would all blow over in a couple of years. Like, let me act. I'm this sweet, pretty little lady, you know, for like 2 or 3 years, you know, let me sign your little penance and then give it back, and some other scandal will happen and everybody will forget about me, and I can start to build my library back up.
That's just what I think. No facts, just vibes. I think she was like, yeah, this will all blow over in a couple years, and I can just go back to, I'll get another benefactor, and then it'll all go back to normal.
But we'll never know for sure, because in 1695, when Juana was 46 years old, a plague came through town. At first, Juana didn't contract it, but she wanted to go and read to nuns who did end up catching it. And that is sadly where she caught the plague.
The
And died not long after in Mexico City on April 17th of 1695.
Right after her death, in her eulogy, her legacy is written as a symbol of someone who repented. Like this woman who saw the error of her ways and she wasn't too proud to repent. The church loved that they got to take control of her narrative at the end because she hadn't wrote anything publicly since the "this is my penance" statement, you know? And so she was a public figure that they got to write her ending however they want.
But she's still a symbol. But after her death, she's more remembered as this brilliant nun, but more in the sense of what a shame she was a woman kind of way in Mexico.
But that was just right after her death. However, because of Maria Luisa, that had like done so much to bring attention to her overseas in Spain and in Europe, her works continued to get published in Europe, even posthumously. And in 1701, a posthumous collection of her work, including her response to Sor Filotea, was published in Spain. And in that book, she was called the Phoenix of Mexico, which is fucking rad. And her legacy continued to live on totally separately from the church in Spain and Europe as a poet.
And when we look today at more modern feminism, she was saying so much of what we now all view as a given before they were common views. It was radical to say women deserve education, and not just because it will make them better mothers, but because women have minds and because women are people. That logic is foundational to modern feminist thought.
And like we said, she wrote what is often today viewed as one of the first ever feminist manifestos, back before that phrase even existed. So, fuck yeah, Sor Juana. Let's raise a glass.
Cheers to this badass bitch.
Cheers. All right. Well, that was a really... I'd never heard of her before we started this research, and I'm so glad I know about her now. Thank you for going on this journey with me, Nathan, and thank you, everybody, for listening.
Bye.
Bye. Cheers, bitches.